Hey, boo. I'm glad you're here today. I love snacks. I have a feeling you might too. And today I have a special snackisode for you. That is a mini episode of the You Boo podcast, a podcast that is dedicated to exploring what it means to know, love, and lead yourself. This show is for you, boo, and for me too. It's for us and the planet and the future. So thank you so much for being here. So for those of you watching, you can see that I'm showing up today with messy hair and cat hair on my shirt, and it's perfect because today we are talking all about consistency. And in the last episode, I talked about procrastination and perfectionism and how that can get in our way from putting out our work into the world. And this is a continuation, or I guess a supportive add-on to that conversation, but it's also a standalone conversation. So if all you watch is this little snackisode, that's also great. I'm glad you're here, and this will be a standalone episode either way. So let's dive in. Consistency. This hasn't been my strength in my life. I'd like you to check in with yourself. Do you consider yourself to be someone who is particularly good at being consistent, having self-discipline, showing up to the thing that you started to continue to do that thing? Some of us are really exceptional at that quality of being able to be loyal, to continue to show up to something, to stay the course, to stay committed, devoted, disciplined, motivated, and even more importantly, because the truth is no one can actually stay motivated all the time. But there are people who can show up even when they're not motivated to, because they are good at having discipline. And so some of you, like me, might not have that as your superpower. For some of us, we get bursts of inspiration and it feels so alive. And it's like, yes, I'm doing this. And we've all had that feeling when we start something new. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it forever. I'm so excited. And then, you have the day where you're like, oh my gosh, I just don't feel like it. How can I even? How can I even show up to this thing I said I cared about just last week, just 2 weeks ago, just a month ago, just a year ago? I know this is relatable. This, oh, but I just don't feel like it. I just can't keep going. And so we do want to listen to the intuitive nudge that says, I don't love this anymore. Because sometimes that is a real thing to be listening to. We don't need to keep pushing through things in our life just because we started something. Doesn't mean we're meant to finish it. It doesn't mean we're meant to do it forever. So this is where we want to check in with, am I meant to begin to delegate this to someone else because it's not actually my role to keep doing it? Am I meant to put this down and walk away because it's not actually for me anymore? Or is the truth that this is for me and I am meant to keep doing it? I just simply don't feel like it right now. And so having that discernment is really the first thing you want to check in with when you don't feel like doing something today that maybe you said you were going to do. And maybe you said, maybe it's, I would like to start going to yoga 2 times a week. And then a month in, you're like, I don't feel like it today. And today's the day you were going to go. Is it true that yoga is just not for you? Or is it just that you don't feel like it today? And here's where we get to look at where discipline and honoring the truth of your intuitive knowing and what your body, spirit, and soul needs. When it comes to, I said I was going to do something. This is a really big thing to navigate sometimes when you are an intuitively led person who does want to honor the truth of how you feel and what's right for you. Because if all we ever do is pay attention to, okay, I'm in this routine and that's it, that's all I'm going to do forever, there is a balance that would benefit us to figure out when is discipline appropriate and when is allowing for a shift appropriate. And so this is comes down to getting with what is true. Getting with what is true. Because there are all kinds of distractions and self-sabotaging behaviors that will come in and try to tell us lies that will say, oh, no, 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 you shouldn't, honey, you shouldn't do that today because you don't feel like it, right? And you're practicing self-love, right? And then, on the other hand, if you're very, very disciplined and all you ever do is do the thing you said you were going to do at the expense of you, you might want to check in with, maybe it's actually appropriate for me to give myself permission to cancel. That might be the truth of what's actually most empowering for you this time, right? So when I say, let's check in with the truth, what do I mean by that? If you look at what is it that I'm wanting to feel, to do, to experience in my life? What is my intention? What is it that I hope I will get from doing the thing I said I was going to do? And then you look at what is the exchange? Like, but what is the cost? And then you can start to look at, okay, I said I was going to go to yoga twice a week. Why does that matter to me? Right? So you can look at, okay, I have found that when I show up to my yoga class, I feel grounded. I feel relaxed. It feels so good to stretch my body and spend time in meditation. I actually never regret it. It always feels good to go. And then what is the cost? Well, it's the time, the effort, the decisive action, the willingness to show up and to move through maybe the discomfort that's there that feels like, okay, today I'm not really in the mood. So why not though? Checking in with, is this just my mood? Or is there something truly wrong? For example, there might be a day where you really are navigating grief, or maybe there's something else in your life today that is taking precedent and priority, and that actually really matters to you more. Or maybe you really are in pain, like, okay, I have a migraine today. It actually feels like torture to show up to this class. This is where you want to check in with truth. Am I truly honoring what's best for me and the people that I love by skipping out on this class today? And then you might reframe it to say, guess what? I'm actually just pivoting. I'm rescheduling. I'm not going today. I'm going tomorrow, and all will be well. That actually works better for me, and I have permission to change my schedule because it suits me best. That is an empowering decision to make, that it still allows you to be consistent and self-honoring and honoring of other things in your life that are important. So when it comes to consistency, what I want to invite is that we are allowed to make shifts. If we tend to be really rigid, it might actually, if you're someone who tends to be really rigid, it might actually serve you to allow yourself to switch things up if what's true is that would actually be better for you. So If you're someone who always adheres to your schedule, you might want to play with why. Why, can you give yourself a little freedom, a little wiggle room, a little spontaneity? Can you let things be a bit different, even if it feels uncomfortable, because it might ultimately benefit you more? And then looking at those of you who struggle with consistency because you're someone who maybe allows the whims of your emotions and your feelings drive you. So there is a difference between being very in touch with your intuitive knowing and letting that lead you, and letting your feelings completely decide for you. We do want to allow ourselves to feel our feelings. That is healthy and wise and empowering. But what we don't necessarily want to do is to let our feelings consume us and decide how our life is going to go. And so, what can happen is you might have started something that you care about very much. Maybe this yoga practice that I'm using as an example. Maybe you can see all the ways it's really benefited you. And then a month in, you wake up, you have a class scheduled at 10 a.m., and you just simply don't feel like it. You're just not into it. You're not in the mood. You're like, nah, I'd rather eat leftover pierogies and sit on the couch. And I just am not into it today. I just don't feel like it. And maybe you have a really good reason. So here's where you would ask yourself why. Like, what is this feeling all about? And if you have a legit reason to need to move that class, do it. You can still stay consistent and allow for wiggle room. But if it is simply like, I don't know why. I don't know why I feel like this. I just don't feel like it. I'm just not in the mood. That will definitely show up for you. It will show up for us, all of us. It will show up for me. It does show up for me. And what I have found is that I am far more happy, fulfilled, empowered, and walking forward in a direction that is in alignment with the true way I'd like to live when I override those temporary feelings of I don't feel like it. And it is not self-betraying or ignoring my intuitive knowing when I do that, because when I check in with my intuitive knowing in that moment, it's like, is it actually going to be beneficial to me to show up? Yes, of course. Of course it is. I'm going to shift this heavy energy I woke up with. I'm going to exhale it all out in our breathing practices. I'm going to get to move my body. I'm going to feel energized. I'm going to get to connect with community. It's going to pull me out of this funk. Of course, it's going to serve me to show up. So, because I am choosing to be committed and consistent with my practice, I get to show up then imperfectly. I get to show up maybe in a funk. Maybe my yoga clothes that day don't look all that hot. Maybe my hair's a mess. Maybe I'm not a ray of sunshine and I'm just meh. That's okay. That's the point of showing up, so that you can be supported in shifting that. And so, what is it in your life right now that you would like to be a little more consistent with? Because consistency is like a building block for the future that you would like to create for yourself. Whether it's a project you're putting out into the world, a way that you would like to feel or be or show up, something you're building with other people. What is it for you in this moment that feels alive when I ask you, what would you really love to be more consistent with? Or what would you love to begin to be consistent with? Maybe it's something to do with your health, your home, your relationships, your business, your work. What is it? Maybe it's, you know, showing up to a project that you started just with so much fire in your belly, and now, wah wah, it's kind of fizzled out, and you're like, I don't know how much I care anymore. If you're having an experience like that, where you're struggling to stay consistent, I would invite you to connect with why. What is getting in your way of staying consistent? Is it the whims of emotion? Is it losing the connection to why it matters? Is it other people getting in your way of you feeling like you can prioritize this in your life? And then I would invite you to ground back down into that anchor of what it is that you're wanting, right? Set the intention. What is it I'm wanting to be consistent with? Why does it matter to me? And what is a way that I can support myself in doing that? So you might look at, okay, on the days where I haven't shown up, what got in my way? And then on the days where I have shown up, what supported me to do that? And really look at how can you set up your environment to support you? Maybe it's something like going back to the yoga class analogy, having your clothes ready the night before your class tomorrow. Maybe it's having every single thing you're going to need by the front door, your water bottle already full, your towel and your mat. You know where your keys are, everything, your clothes are by your bed ready to put on. You're setting yourself up for success. And then you're making a promise to yourself saying, no matter how I feel in the morning, I'm going to choose to show up. And then only if you have a very legit reason that you can't go, you're going to go. You've just already decided. It doesn't matter if I want to. It matters that I'm choosing to. And so there is one quote that has really helped me with this. Even though I tend to be a very emotionally driven person, can any of you relate? I have learned to have better self-discipline around a lot of the things I care about in my life. It doesn't mean I'm perfect at it. There are things that tend to rise up into priority importance, and while other things are being put down. All of it is intentional. And well, you know what? Probably that's not true. I would say most. There are probably some things that probably just accidentally fall to the wayside as I'm focusing more on other things. And you're going to realize that with yourself, this is happening, right? Like, where am I allowing things to fall out of the priority list by accident? And you want to check in with that. But when you're looking at what do I want to be more consistent with and what gets in my way and how can I best support myself to do that, there is this thing that is like the will to keep doing it, even if you don't feel like it. And this is how you begin to connect to that fire, that care, that why does it matter to me, that can I ignite the passion within myself to care enough to show up? Even if I have to show up not enthusiastic, it doesn't matter because here's the thing. Consistency and dedication create so much of our life and what we're building and who we become. The willingness to show up even when we don't feel like it, even when we're not maybe looking or feeling our best. It matters that we show up anyway. And this is what I want to invite you to instill in yourself is that courage, that fire, that self-discipline, that self-leadership that says, I will do it even if I don't feel like it because it matters to me to do so. And if you're someone who has been extremely hard on yourself and rigid with this at the expense of your feelings and your intuitive desires, I want to invite you to kind of maybe play with doing the opposite, which is like, can I put down the rigidity of the schedule for a moment to honor my feelings and my needs? Because I want to invite you to consider that how you feel about your quality of life in general really does matter. If we always, 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 always show up and go above and beyond what is needed because we feel we have to, that is a different thing than what I'm talking about. And here is the thing I want to invite you to connect to. It's not that you have to. You don't have to do anything. It's what matters to you. It's that you get to if you want to, if it matters to you. You get to if it matters to you. And so the quote I was beginning to touch on that I didn't quite get to yet is this. I want to invite you to check in with, what do I want now versus what do I want most? And this is a very supportive thing when it comes to working with our willpower. So if you're someone that's always going on the whims of your feelings and your cravings and your urges, this will be very supportive to you. What I want now versus what I want most helps you to connect to the bigger picture outside of momentary feelings. So, what you want now might not always be that supportive to your overall vision of your life and yourself. Because sometimes what we want now is a self-sabotaging thing. Because it feels good, because we want the dopamine hit, because we want to feel escapism, because we want permission to not be our best, because we just kind of want to, do the thing that would feel good right now and just for a while right now. And then we throw away tomorrow and we say, who cares? And when we connect to what we want most, then we're zooming out and we're seeing our life in a bigger way, where it's like, oh, okay, I said I wanted to do this. I said I wanted to be this. I'm connecting to the truth of who I am outside of this momentary feeling. And that can be a very helpful guiding light to help us make decisions when it comes to showing up. When it comes to, do I be consistent with the thing I said I wanted in this moment? We can check in with that. What I want now versus what I want most. And so then we can acknowledge, even though I really want to sit this class out, what I want most is to stay committed to that goal of taking care of my body, mind, and soul. And I know that my yoga class really helps me with that, so let me show up anyway. This concept helped me to get sober and has helped me to stay sober. Because even though in a moment I might say, what I want now is a nice, delicious glass of wine, but what I want most is the goal that I am getting closer to with every moment that I say no thank you to alcohol, and yes please to my health, my wealth, my success, my vision for my life, and everyone that I care about. And I have a very big reason that I'm taking a break from alcohol right now. And so when I can connect to that, all of a sudden that feels much bigger than the little urge in the moment that says, oh, a glass of wine would be nice. Same thing with showing up to yoga or not. Same thing with showing up to this podcast or not. Same thing with anything that you care about, that you're trying to either do or not do, right? And just remember that if your goals are around not doing something, they're actually about doing something or experiencing something else. So I invite you to connect to what that is. What is it that you're wanting to stay consistent with right now? These concepts may be very supportive to you as you move through the different whims of emotion that either have you staying too stuck and rigid or have you staying not consistent enough. And that is all I have to share with you today, because this is just a little snackisode, my friends. Okay, boo. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'm so grateful. If this was helpful, if this felt supportive, encouraging, inspiring, insightful in any way, please do share with someone else who would also benefit from it. I am pouring my heart and soul into sharing this work with you, and the ways that I was introduced to topics like this that changed my life was through friends recommending me mentors that I needed to learn from. And so I know that this is how we spread this knowledge, these insights, this coaching, this guidance, so that all of us may be supported. And hopefully, these episodes can find you on the day just when you needed it. And I have found in my life that to be true, that does happen when we are in a process of saying, I am ready to work on myself, to heal, to grow, to learn, to listen, and to expand on my network of support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful. Remember, you are here for a reason. You found this for a reason. I invite you to take what is of service to you to heart and let it land and receive it fully and let it support you in whatever shifts you want to make in your life. We can change in any moment that we choose, and we also don't have to. And so if you're finding yourself in a moment where you just want to be heard and seen and loved for exactly who you are and where you are, consider it done. You are already enough. You are already perfect just the way you are. You are already beautiful. You are all powerful. You are unique. There is no one like you. Keep doing you and living your best life. Even when it comes to consistency, I want to invite you to see that you do not have to be perfect at this. This is an invitation for you to rise to the occasion as best as you can in a way that actually truly feels supportive to you and the people that you love. Thank you. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you next time. This has been Stephanie Sauvé-Bogue of Moonwild Studio for You Boo Podcast.